Hey, real estate investors. Welcome to Module 8, The Gift, Selling Your Flip and Maximizing Your Profit. This is one of those segments that most other seminar companies and educators just kind of gloss over, but we're not going to. We're going to dig down into this because maximizing your profit is key. Now, profit is why we're all in this business, whether it's to build retirement, buy that house out on the prairie wherever you want it, or whatever, cars, boats, or just to have a secure financial future for your family. When you sell your flip, there's a lot of ways that you can make more money or lose money if it's not negotiated and handled correctly. So it's a very important piece to this puzzle, and that's why we're spending the time today doing this. Now, we say you make your money when you buy your house, when you make your money when you buy the properties, but you collect it when you sell. And if you don't negotiate correctly, if your realtor is not the right realtor for you or your property, you're going to lose money. And if you don't understand contracts and the different spots in the contract that you can negotiate, remember, just like when we were making offers, when you're receiving offers on your properties, it's still a conversation. It's a give and take. But there's ways to give without actually giving up anything. So we're going to cover those as well. A lot of investors expect offers day one. Now, a well-priced house that's remodeled correctly, priced we don't price our houses at the very, very top of the market. Typically, if everything is listed between 180 and 200, we don't list at 200, 205, 210. We don't want to be unrealistic about our property. But a well-priced house, something in that 190 to 195 range, depending on what you actually did to the property, should sell within the first 2 weeks. Yes, you're going to get offers in the first weekend if you price it lower and it's really good, you're a hot market, but expect offers to start coming in that first 2 week period. Because a lot of times people don't go running out the door and saying, oh, look, there's one, and go and buy it. It happens. Sometimes you'll get 5 offers day one. That's awesome. High five. Way to go. But expect about 2 weeks for those first offers to kind of roll in. Now, I know there's a lot of people that think maximizing profit is not using a realtor and not getting professionals to help with things. Oh, I can take the photos. I don't need a realtor. I can just put a sign in the yard. I can use one of these $895 services instead of paying people 3%, and I'm going to save money. Guess what? Just like when we talked about contractors and not lifting the brush, not using the hammer, if you're not a realtor, you shouldn't be listing your property. It's as simple as that. Do you really want to go Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and show the house to people that are just going to be maybe a no-show or a looky-loo? It's not worth your time. It's not. Hire a professional realtor. Now, that being said, I still put signs out in front of my properties before the property is completed, and I'll put a sign out there, coming soon, with my phone number or my office phone number, and I can drive a potential buyer that way. But if I know they don't want to buy my house, guess what? I direct them to one of my realtors, and my realtors will give me a finder's fee when that buyer actually buys with them. It's a marketing aspect that you can use to make additional money in this business. Maximize profit. Now, as soon as the outside of my house is done and I've decided on the realtor I want to use, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, I let them put their sign in the front yard. Even before the property goes on the MLS, before it's listed for sale, they get their sign in the front yard to start driving interest of their own. And if they get a buyer off of that, awesome. They get the full 3% on the from the buying side and from my selling side. And I'm happy to pay it because they get to control the deal that much more. But I only do it after the outside of the house is done. And that's usually within a week or two of the property actually going on the market. So another thing, it makes your realtor happy. You can say, hey, I'm going to let you pre-market this property. So they're like, oh, wow, I can find a buyer. It usually doesn't happen I've had it happen a few times. It doesn't happen a lot, but it makes the realtor fuzzy. You're giving something without actually giving up anything. So don't list a property too high for sure. That can kill you. It's going to sit out there and just not be found to be a desirable property after a while. People are going to think that there's something wrong with it. Not just that it's listed too high, but it's been out there for 2 months. Why would I want to buy it? Other people must have looked at it. This is what potential buyers think. You have to price properties correctly. And whatever you do, don't put your property out there before it's done. Now, there might be some little touch-up things that you have to do that you didn't know right away, but I've seen people put the property out there before they have countertops on, before fixtures are in, before landscaping is in. They'll get buyers that first weekend that see the house, but not realizing that it's not done. But they're not going to be interested because most buyers don't have the vision for that. Make sure your properties are done before you put it on the market. Because another week or two of holding costs on a project, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be a deal killer. You might have a few hundred up to $1,000, depending on the size of the project, in holding costs. It's worth it. Wait. Get the property done correctly first. So the title for this module, the gift. Why do I call it that? Because a listing is a gift. It's a gift to the realtor that you choose to give it to. Now, you don't just randomly hand out gifts. You make people earn them somehow or another. And with realtors, that's what you do. You make them earn it. Now, in one of the prior modules, we talked about if a realtor brings you a deal and says, listen, I'm representing the seller. You can be my buyer, but when you go and sell it, I want to list it for you. And if you agreed to that, then that's your realtor for this deal. Same thing applies. You go through the process with them. That's your realtor. It's already chosen. Don't back out on that because remember, if they brought you one deal, they can bring you more. But in most cases, you're going to have the decision to make who is going to list the property for you. And you do not have to use the realtor that brought it to you or that you bought the property through. It's just so many people feel indebted to that realtor. Oh, that's my realtor. I'm only working with them. No, you can work with any realtor you want. And we do not sign exclusivity agreements with realtors. Remember that. I've said it before, say it again. No exclusivity agreements with realtors. You can use as many realtors as you want throughout your real estate investing career. So you get to pick who you're going to give that gift. And I keep calling it a gift because you know what that is? That gift is worth 3% of your purchase price because that's the standard rate that a realtor charges. Now, you can nickel and dime them. You can knock them down. Some realtors will say, well, I'll do it for 2% or even 1%. If they're getting less, they're probably going to do less. If you're a first-time real estate investor, if this is your first flip or your second flip, and you're going to lean on them for a little more help, pay them the full fee, the full 3%. Don't beat them up because you want it to be a good experience. You want them to be helping you, and you want to be able to learn from them on what you need to learn. So first couple flips, don't beat them up on it. Once you have repeat business, then that fee should start coming down because, hey, it's a gift. Now, I go ahead and when I'm in a new market, one of my outside my normal markets, after I've fixed up the house and I've done everything I want to, I've done my final walks and I'm like, okay, this property is ready to list. I contact at a minimum 3 realtors and I ask them and I provide them pictures of the house and I say, what do you think I can sell this house for? Now, remember, we've already determined our ARV, our after repair value, but that was probably 2 or 3 months ago. Markets change. More inventory gets on the market, inventory gets off the market. The prices go up, prices go down, things change. You have to look at what the actual market price is now. Okay, and it could be below your ARV, so be prepared for that. Ideally, it's above it, but most commonly within this 2 to 3 to 4 month window, it's going to be right where your ARV was. So Now, do you pick your realtor because they gave you the highest list price? Nope. And I tell them flat out, I'm not looking for the highest list price. That's not who's going to get this property. That's not who's going to get this listing. I'm looking for the one that has the most data to support their listing or their list price and why. So they should be sending you comps, but they should also talk about the currently available inventory, meaning, oh, there's a house 1 block over, same house. It's also a flip. It's a good condition, not as nice as yours, but that's listed at 280. So I think we should go ahead at 289 because yours is just a little bit nicer. Or maybe they come back and say, hey, there's this one that just sold. It's model match, same square footage, everything, but it wasn't remodeled. So I think we can get 280, not the 260 this one sold for. If they say that, I'm still going to ask, well, where's the support for 280? Because when you sell your house, remember, the buyer, if they're getting a loan, and most times they are, they're going to have to get an appraisal too. And the appraisal is supported by sales. Just like what we did with our ARV, the list price should still be supported by both listings and sales. It should make sense. And the realtor that presents it to you, they say, oh, I could sell it all day long for $400,000, but the highest sale is $325. That's not a good deal. Don't do it. Don't get into it. Don't overlist your properties. It's going to take too long. And remember, don't be the realtor if you're not a realtor. Now, as you, when you remember the calculations we did when we're running our numbers on a project, our selling closing costs are 8%. Now, what does that include? If you remember, that includes the 3% to our listing realtor when we're selling, but the buyer's realtor, whoever that is, we're also offering them 3%. Now, in some markets, they might offer them 2.5 or even 2. In real hot markets, I've seen it as low as 1% to whoever brings in the buyer because they know the house is just going to sell no matter what. It's kind of a cheap way to make money, but in a standard market, even a hot market, not a hyper market, but just a regular hot market, you can potentially lose potential buyers if you offer a lower commission. So remember that, because what do realtors concern themselves with first and foremost is their commission, how much they're going to make. And when they pull up the listings, they're looking at their computer and they have 4 houses to choose from to show their buyer. You know what they look at? They look at, 3%, 3%, 1.5% commission. I'm not going to show them that one unless they ask for it. So don't be so greedy that you hurt yourself. So in our calculations, when we calculated our ARVs, our after repair value, we already plugged in for the 3% and the 3% for both sides. And more importantly, or most importantly, you want a realtor when you're going through this interview process with them, you want a realtor that answers their phone. If they don't answer a phone call from you, you think they're going to answer phone calls from other realtors who have potential buyers that want to see the property? No, they're going to be slow in returning calls. Guess what? That buyer is looking at other houses. They're going to go buy something else if your realtor is not picking up that phone. So text message, emails, that's fine, but they have to be able to pick up that phone and talk to people. You want your realtor to be a good negotiator. So my test with a realtor is if they can get me to pay them 3%, they're a good negotiator, because a lot of my realtors, I give them volume, whether I'm buying from them or selling with them, I get reduced commissions that I pay them. And so that's something I can factor into my ARV calculations when I'm looking to buy houses. But the fact that most realtors are not great negotiators, you can kind of get the sense of that. It's like when they just pander to you and say, I want to, whatever you want, whatever you need. There should be negotiating there. They should be able to take control of a situation. That's how you know somebody can be a good negotiator. They're going to have some advice for you too on, we should stage this house. And if things like that, why should we stage this house? Well, because when I took a look at the comparables were staged and the ones that were staged sold at 4% higher than ones that were not staged, when they started like spouting out facts like that in your market, that, hey, wow, sold, good negotiator. You brought in the facts, you brought in the proof. I like it. So you want your realtor to be a good negotiator. And a good realtor with that negotiating power, with the ability to sell the house both online and in person, with their marketing and the way that they present it, a good realtor can be the difference from you getting an offer of $250,000 or $260,000. So remember that. If you go with a bad realtor, if you're going to pay a realtor less, they're not going to work as hard typically. And they're going to be like, yeah, I guess they want to sell it. Just send any offer and I'll put it in front of them. No, that's not what you want. You want a realtor that's going to say, oh, yeah, you're calling about the property on Logan Drive? Oh, man, that's like my 10th call on this one in the last hour. Have you already called on it? Okay. Yeah, if you want to get out there today, I highly recommend it. I know I've got a couple offers coming in this evening. And if you're really interested in this property, bring it at full price. That's what a good realtor does. I don't care if that's the first call that they've had on that property, but a good realtor is going to know how to play these games. So really interview these guys and girls that you're thinking about using as realtors. And it's great if you can use the ones that were the listing or the agent you bought with. It's great if you can have that repeat business with them, but they might not have been great negotiators. They might have rubbed you the wrong way, whatever the case is. You don't have to use them. So now, a full service realtor. This is a realtor for the 3%. What should they provide? Professional photographs. Now, everybody with an iPhone or Android or Google Pixel, whatever they're called now, they think they're amazing photographers. But you know what? When you get the picture where somebody's going like this, hiding in a bathroom, and you can see it in the mirror. I mean, I've seen everything. It's crazy. Professional photographs. And these aren't expensive. For a professional real estate photographer, you're usually going to be, depending on the size of the house, anywhere from $80 to $300. And that's a cost the realtor should eat. That should be one of their costs. Electronic lock boxes. These are the lock boxes they put on the property, not a mechanical one that your contractor has used, but an electronic one. These are only accessible by the realtors. And what these do, they track who's viewing your property, when, and a lot of the MLS systems have ways that you can send follow-up emails to the realtors that are viewing your property, and you can ask for feedback on the way the property looked, on the price, and just whatever their buyers' initial thoughts of the property were. The more information you have about your listing, the better. You always want an electronic lockbox on your property. It's safe and it's secure, and a full-service realtor should provide that. Now, they should be able to do some marketing. A lot of realtors will say, oh, you know what? I'm going to take your listing. I'm going to put it on 40 websites. Well, guess what? They're going to put your listing into the realtors database, the MLS, and these 40 websites are just going to pull data from the MLS. They're not doing anything extra. Like Zillow and Redfin and Trulia, all these websites pull data from the MLS. So the realtor's not putting them out there. They're not doing anything extra. And they should. They can do a mass email flyer to the entire MLS database of realtors, typically for like $20. They just have to spend 10 minutes in Microsoft Word and make a little presentation, and they can email that out within 2 days. It's out to 5,000 realtors. And you know what? You can drive buyers that way. It's great marketing, cheap, but that's a little something extra a real realtor should do. And now when I say with pizzazz, it shouldn't be humdrum descriptions of a property. Something like, this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house has a 2-car garage and a driveway that can fit 2 cars. It's recently remodeled. And that's it. Like, where's the pizzazz? What makes a buyer want to buy that house? No, this recently renovated home, call it a home, not a house, because a home, it makes people feel warm and fuzzy about it. This recently renovated home has a master suite with his and her sinks and a walk-in closet, granite slab countertops throughout, brand new shaker style cabinet. You see the descriptive words, we're actually saying what type of cabinets. Granite slab, right? It's nobody really does a lot of granite tile countertops anymore, but granite slab countertops. Oh, they got it from a slab. Even if it's the prefabricated granite, it's still off of a slab. These are all ways to entice buyers. Oh, I got to go see that house. You know, these professional photos make the property shine. The words sell it. And a full-service realtor should provide negotiating advice. They shouldn't just send you the contracts and say, what do you want to do? They should have read the contract, given you the highlights, and say what they think they can get out of the buyer. If that buyer's willing to pay $750 for that house, guess what? They're probably willing to pay $775, right? So negotiating advice, you should be able to lean on them for that help, and they should know what they're talking about. And again, a full-service realtor, they have to be able to answer their phone. Oh, and now, you know, there's times when they can't, but they should have some type of voicemail that says that they're a realtor, and hey, leave a voicemail about the property you're calling about, or call my office for further information while I'm unavailable. Something like that should be in their voicemail. Not, yo, this is Mike, leave a message, right? That's not a professional realtor, right? So check your realtor's voicemails. Leave them a message and see what it says. So now, here's an example of the pizzazz. So here's a bathroom picture. Doesn't really show much. You can see some of the shower. You can even see a roll of toilet paper in the window. It's not great. Little things like that should be cleaned up. Now, bathroom, remodeled. Doesn't say much about it. How about, this is the exact same bathroom, different angle, remodeled bathroom with upgraded fixtures and a custom shower with decorative inlays, new shaker cabinets with granite slab countertop. It's just missing your toothbrush. Little things like that. Now, some realtors will go as far as maybe hanging some red towels or some sort of a color pop in here for the kitchens and bathrooms, things like that. If you're not staging the house, it's light staging, they might call it. Just make sure that it goes with the motif of the house, the design and the appeal of the house, if you're doing any of that kind of stuff. But big difference between a picture of part of a shower and a full bathroom shot that's showing everything. This is a picture of the electronic lockbox they use. There's a little pop out. There's a couple different versions of this, but the key's in there, so it opens up, and only realtors can access this. It's great. Your realtor should be using them. So you picked your realtor. You got your list price figured out. You're listed. Now do you just put your feet up, relax, and nothing's going on? No, you're not done yet. You gotta keep checking on people. You still have to manage your property. You still have to pay all your bills, right? Don't forget about those, your utilities. And your utilities are going to go up because what do realtors love to do? They love to go into a house and see, let's see if the air conditioning's working. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we got it at 50. It's blowing good. All right, guys, let's go. That's an expensive electrical bill or and gas bills. If the heat goes up, water bills, if your landscape is being overwatered, all different things. You still have to manage the property and take a look at those bills when they come in to see if anything looks weird. So the landscape, mow the lawn. I recently saw a property here in Las Vegas that actually does have grass. Some of our houses in Vegas have grass, but this one had grass that was probably pushing 14 inches high, and it was a flip. These guys just walked away from it. They're like, all right, we'll put it on the market. And they touted themselves as experts. It's like, it looks like an REO property. That looks like a bank-owned property. It doesn't look like a flip. I think that property is still available. It's been on the market for a while. Weekly walks. You or your boots on the ground should go to that property once a week to check on the things like the air conditioning, the heating, check the toilets. flush them. Might be a good idea to bring some cleaning stuff with you. Buyers and realtors have been known to use your toilets. And when the next buyer comes in and they see something floating, they might just hightail it out of there. So remember that. Weekly walks, you're also checking for the security of your property. I personally, I put alarms in all my properties. I've used alarm companies, Simply Safe, ADT, the cable companies will have different alarm systems available. Ring, it's those like the push the doorbell button ones where it's actually video. You need Wi-Fi for some of those video ones. But weekly walks will let you make sure all the windows are locked, the doors are locked. It's just safer. Weekly walks, do them. Keep it clean. You're going to walk into that house and it's going to get dirty. If you need to get another cleaning crew out there, do it. It's going to hurt the value of the house, hurt what the offers come in at. Alarm systems, I already mentioned those. And track your showings. Know if you're getting action on the property. That's super important. And with those realtor lock boxes, they typically send an email to your listing agent. I have my listing agents forward all of those to me so I know how much action my properties are getting. And once contracts come in, you got to start reviewing them. You get, if a contract comes in on a Friday, you don't have to respond to them until Monday. Wait that whole weekend and see if any more contracts come in. But review these contracts. Now, like I said, we want to maximize profit. And there are certain points in these contracts that are going to be very important where you can give but not give up things, but also get things. So let's talk about some of those. Now, the first one, price. That's the first thing you're going to look at with a contract. The highest price is not always the highest net, meaning that they might be offering you $200,000. You're listed at $195,000. Other offers are all at $195,000, but that $200,000, they're asking for $6,000 in closing costs, $1,000 in repairs, $500 to pay for their inspections. So the end net is you end up being at $193,500 instead of $195,000. So purchase price, yes, it's important, but it doesn't always mean that it's the highest net. So you want to look at these other fields as we go through. The earnest money deposit amount. You want to make sure that your buyers are serious. For all of my properties, I start my earnest money at $5,000. Even if it's only a $100,000 house, I say I want $5,000 earnest money because I want to know you're serious. But if they only ask, or if they only offer $2,000 earnest money deposit, now I can negotiate with that. I could accept the $2,000 if they offer me my full price of $195,000, right? Maybe they only offered $190,000. So I'm giving something, but I'm not giving up anything. So that's a nice little way to manage that conversation of the contracts. You want to take a look at the closing date. Because if the closing date is in 2.5 months from now, that is way too long. Your closing or your carrying costs are going to add up, and it's not going to be a good deal. So closing date, if someone's getting a loan, that property should be closing within 30 to 45 days. That's just how long it takes to do a loan. They can do them in 30 days. They ask for 45 because that way they can be a little bit lazy with it. And by they, I mean the loan officers. They do it for safety. You can push people on this. If they will say, well, we'll close in 45 days. Say, well, you can have it. I like everything else on this contract, but you have to close in 30 days. They can do it. They got to push to make it happen. Closing cost assistance. These are, I like that $6,000 I mentioned for people to, let's say it typically occurs on FHA and VA loans. These are the ones where they don't have to come in with a lot of money. So they might be only coming in with 3% of the purchase price. So if it's $200,000, they're only coming in with $6,000, but they're asking you to come in with 3% of the purchase price and closing costs. So they want you to come in with $6,000 to go towards the fees associated with their loan. So pay attention to that, because you could say, well, instead of 6, I'll give you 3. Now you have to know if people need it or not. There's some buyers that really need those closing costs. So maybe you bump the price up to cover it. So instead of $195, we bump it up to $200. or 200 to 205. But be prepared. If you go too high and you go above the appraisals or above the comps, you might have an issue with the appraisal. The due diligence time frame, 7 to 12 days is more than enough time for people to get their inspections and make sure that they want to buy the house and that there's no issues with it. If they're asking for 15 or 20, knock them down on it. You want to take a look at the loan type, cash, conventional, VA or FHA. Cash is king, but it still has to be a reasonable price. Do a cost-benefit analysis to see if you have multiple offers, if it makes sense to take that cash offer or wait the 30 to 45 days for the conventional or FHA or VA to close. And take a look at the financing company, who's actually providing the loan. Now, if it's a local company, I prefer that. I do not prefer the big banks because in my experience, the big banks are less likely to close. And if there's an issue and you're trying to talk to the person that's making money with a loan of the big banks, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you're talking with a local mortgage company, Glendale Mortgage or Bakersfield Loan Company, whatever it is, you're going to get on the phone with that loan officer, the guy who's going to be benefiting from this deal. And he's going to say, oh, here's what's going on. I'm really trying to close it. This is what we got to do. You're going to get answers. That's why I like the local companies better. And take a look for money for repairs. They sometimes ask for $500 or $1,000 in repair money. When they do their home inspection, they're going to find issues. They always do. But it shouldn't be more than $500 or $1,000 that you ever offer, because that's typically whatever they find. You can eat that up in just normal repairs that your contractor was already paid to do, and he'll cover, and it won't be anything out of your pocket. Give without giving up. So again, what to look for in contracts: the purchase price, the EMD amount, closing date, closing costs, due diligence time frame, 7 to 12 days, repairs, 500 to 1,000 at most, and the financing and the company that's providing it. Remember, I like the smaller local companies. Now, VA is different of the Veteran Affairs. Those are Army, Navy, all the armed branches or military branches. VA will typically be one of the bigger ones, but that's fine for VA. The conventional and FHA loans, I like the smaller ones when I'm selling my houses. So where to negotiate for maximizing profit? You got to remember, purchase price, higher the better. EMD doesn't cost you anything. You can go lower. You take that $2,000 instead of the $5,000, but you're giving them something. The closing date, sooner the better, 30 to 45 days, repairs. And I know I'm repeating these guys, but it's important to really know what you can kind of do. And that's why a good realtor is going to be able to negotiate these points for you. Now, with things like the repairs and the appraisals, there's different aspects of those that will come up. And we're going to cover those in a couple minutes here. But if you have issues with them, there's ways to fix them. But let's first talk about if you're not getting contracts. What if you're not getting any contracts in your house? You don't have any to review. Why is your property not selling? So if you're getting viewings on your house, that means it's priced right, but something's wrong. The buyers are not liking something. Have your realtor go back to the realtors that are showing it and find out why they're not liking the house. If you're not getting any showings at all, that's because of the price. So you want to really, really look at those comps that you looked at to figure out your list price. You might have to drop that thing. I typically don't drop my price until 2 weeks have passed. And at that first 2 week mark, I might only drop it $100 just to, put it back on people's radar. But if I go 30 days, then I'm going to drop it, maybe 5,000 or 10,000, depending on the size of the property and how much my carrying costs, things like that. But I'm going to give it a pretty good nudge right there. And then I'm going to revisit it every 2 weeks because I want to keep it fresh. So every time you make a change to your listing, it refreshes it and it might bring it back on somebody's radar. So you can change it also by maybe changing the first photo around. Instead of a front view of the house, if you have a really good kitchen shot, put that in. Or if it's a amazing backyard with a pool, put that as your first photo. it'll look like a new house to buyers, and then they'll go through and go, oh, you know what, let's go look at that one finally. That kind of stuff happens. Your goal is to sell this house. Your goal going into this was to flip this house. That means sell it, not to turn it into a rental. You remodeled it to be a flip. You didn't remodel it to be a rental. You might have spent $40,000 on the remodel, but if you were going to do it as a rental, it might have only been a $15,000 remodel. It makes more sense to drop that price and just sell it than to say, I guess I'll hang on to it for a year or two. Sell it, move on. That's my advice when people are not able to sell their houses. It's just the way it goes. And it's, you know, as soon as somebody's in there, it's no longer a new house. You get them out of there, you're going to have to do paint and carpet again when you go try to sell it again. And if you try to sell a house with a tenant in it, typically across the country, you're going to sell a house with a tenant at 5 to 15% less than a move-in ready house. So remember that. Maximize profit. Don't maximize your losses. I don't do open houses in my properties. A lot of agents want to do them. Agents get new buyers from them, not buyers for your house from them. Some markets do okay with open houses, but it adds a lot of wear and tear to your house. If there's going to be an open house at your property, your listing agent does it. Don't let somebody else do open houses at your property. They don't care as much about it. There's going to be wear and tear. It's going to be messy. Just don't do it. Opening weekend or pre-opening weekend of the listing, have your agent do one. Let them know. Let them contact other brokers and other agents so that they can come in and build interest that way. That's the best way to do open houses. And staging, only do it if your competition is doing. And you know by looking at your comps if they did it or not. If they're staged, awesome, you should do it too. It's probably going to run you between $3,000 and $6,000 to stage a house. Same thing with refrigerators. If the other houses are selling with refrigerators, you should have one too. So talking about appraisals, if someone's getting a loan, they're going to need an appraisal. I have my realtors meet the appraiser at the house to let them in. They don't let them use the lockbox. They turn that off. They meet the appraiser there. They let them in. They hand them the comps we use to determine our price. And even though, hey, Mr. Appraiser, you're the expert, you know what you're doing, or Mrs. Appraiser, wow, you know, glad you showed up on time, you know, kudos. Maybe we met at another property, something like that, where the appraiser is still the expert. I'm not trying to step on your toes. Just thought I'd let you in. Here's what we used. Don't know. I'm sure you already saw them. Here you go. That's what your realtor should do. And it just helps keep problems from happening with the appraisal. If the appraisal comes in low, you got to negotiate. Number one, first thing you do is you rebut the appraisal. Your realtor can help you with this. You're going to provide the comps, send it over to the appraiser and say, hey, you didn't use these. Or, oh, you didn't realize that we put a new roof on the property. Whatever the case is, that's what you do on a rebuttal. The appraiser says, nope, it's 190, not 195. The buyer is going to think, yeah, I get the house for 190. And you think, no, you don't. First thing you do, when appraisal comes in low, you put that property back on the market, back to active status immediately when that appraisal comes in low, because that's killing that deal. And if another offer comes in, awesome, but you can still negotiate with the current guys. So I prefer to meet somewhere in the middle with them. So if I can get 192, 193, somewhere in there where they come in with a couple extra $1,000, or maybe if I was giving them $5,000 in closing costs, I say, well, we'll do the 190, but no closing costs. Something like that. Some middle ground is usually the best way to go. And remember, it's all still part of a conversation. They still want the house. An expert told them it's worth this. Now you can rebut it. If the rebuttal comes back, you just kind of deal with that. And if it's an FHA appraisal, if it's an FHA loan, that appraisal stays with that house for 6 months. So even if you decide, no, Mr. Buyer, I'm not using you, the next buyer coming in, if they're FHA, they use that same appraisal. So remember that your realtor should know some of these ins and outs on FHA loans, because it's going to become a factor for you. But make sure you put that property back on the market as soon as an appraisal comes in low. We've had cash offers come in, and we're like, oh, we're not going to give you the 190. I got a cash offer at 200. See ya. And they're like, wow, we don't have 10,000 to meet it. Okay, we're done. And they move on. So put it back on the market. The home inspections, what it comes down to, there's two different types of home inspectors. The sky is falling. Everything's wrong. Oh my God, this house is going to collapse. It's not that bad. You can fix it a little bit. I mean, that's what you get. Again, I have my realtor at the house to meet them, because when that home inspector, the sky is falling guy, says, oh, this is going to catch on fire, your realtor is there to put that fire out. So they can solve a lot of these problems, because we've dealt with some really crazy home inspectors where they said, oh, this electrical outlet's not working, so the wiring inside the wall could be wrong, and we're not sure if the panel can handle the load for the whole house because it looks like these are new outlets, and now I recommend a licensed electrician come in and replace everything. Just because the plug wasn't working. That's the sky is falling. What the potential buyer, all he hears is the whole panel has to be replaced. It's unsafe. I don't want this house. They can kill deals, these home inspectors. But if your realtor's there, they can negate some of that. So make sure your realtor's there. And when the home inspector comes in and he comes in and says, you need to make these repairs, or these are what I recommend, or what's not working in the house, the buyer then goes through and says, well, I want these items fixed. Their realtor sends it to your realtor sends it to you. Find out what the priority is on these guys, because they might ask for 20 things, but they really only care about 4 or 5. Now, your contractor might take care of 5 or 10 of those because they're the ones that put that outlet in. It should be working. You paid them to make it work. They're going to go in. It's not going to cost you anything. But if you agreed to $500 to $1,000 in repairs, write up an invoice with that showing $100 for that item. Up to $1,000 already covered. Now, when they ask for, well, there's no sprinkler system in the yard, and they say we want a sprinkler installed, and that's going to be another $800. Hey, you already used up your $1,000 allotment on repairs, so we're not going to do that. All right, that's okay. You took care of the health and safety things. That's really what you do. You want to give them a health and safety property that they're free of health and safety issues, somewhere that it's going to be safe for them to live, because you don't know everything. You haven't crawled around through the attic. You don't know that a junction box was uncovered or whatever the case is. Those are simple fixes, right? Everything is just a small little issue. Don't worry about it, and don't take it personally. Remember, nothing's personal. It's just a conversation. So let's just recap on picking your realtor. You don't have to use the one you bought the house with, unless you really did have an agreement on that previously. Get 3 quotes on your list price. Get the proof on it. The highest list price is not always the best realtor. They should have proof for it, and it should all make sense to you. And a good realtor is going to know their market, and it's going to be a good negotiator. They're going to answer their phone. They're going to get professional photos from you or for you, and they're going to make your house with pizzazz. They're going to sell that thing. That's what you want. Conversations, contracts, same thing. A contract is a conversation, okay? Don't get upset. Don't get angry. Oh, how dare they offer me $175 for my $200,000 listing? Hey, man, it's an offer. Don't worry about it. They offer $175. I've gone back to people. It's like, oh, okay, I'm listed at $199. They want $175. I've gone back to them and said $200, just because I know they weren't serious, and I'm just like, whatever, $200,000. And then my realtor was like, you really want to do that? You don't want to offer $185? I'm like, no, I'm not going to lower myself when I know we're very, very well supported on our price. So remember that it's just a conversation. Don't take it personally, and look at all these other items in that contract besides the price where you can maximize your profit. You can give without giving up things, right? So that's super important. And lean on your realtor. A good realtor is going to have these little tactics that they're going to be able to use. Oh yeah, 10th call today on that one. No, we better get your offer in now. All that kind of stuff. It happens all the time. I've heard my realtors on the phone saying that. I'm like, oh, we already have 2 offers in on this one? Well, Not yet. I'm like, all right, man, whatever. So, and then preemptive with appraisers and inspectors. Have your realtor be there. Let them in. Put those fires out before they start growing. All right. Give the buyers a safe property. Fix any of these little repairs. Do what you need to do. Everything. It's not a big deal. And once this property sells, share your success. Okay. Remember that. It's important because success begets success. The more you share, more people will want to work with you. Oh, you flipped a house? Awesome. You know, even if it only made $1, if you lost money on it, I don't care. Share, I flipped my first house. You don't have to tell them how much you made. All right. But in this system, we're protecting you so that we don't want to see anybody lose money. I've seen it too much. And that's why the system is here today, because we want you to be safe. All right, guys and gals, you're real estate investors. We've taught you how to find the houses, how to create your story, dealing with contractors, how to remodel the house, how to analyze markets, and you're selling the house now and you're getting profits. You're making money. Keep that money rolling. Celebrate it. You know, go buy yourself a new pair of shoes, take your spouse out to dinner, take the kids to the theme park or something. But share your success. Let people know what you're doing. But you never stop. Never stop looking for contractors. Never stop looking for money. And never stop looking for properties. Good luck.